climb to the summit, a tale of determination. Chapter 1. The Dreamer. Tucked away in the quiet town of Maple Grove, at the base of the towering Silver Peak Mountain, lived a boy named Liam. To his friends and neighbors, Liam was a boy like any other, bright, curious, and full of the energy that only 12-year-olds seemed to have. But there was something that set Liam apart, a burning desire that lived deep in his heart. Liam had a dream, one that had taken root ever since he could remember. He wanted to climb Silver Peak Mountain. Silver Peak wasn't just any mountain. It was the tallest, most intimidating peak in the entire region, its snow-covered summit often lost in the clouds. Only a few had ever made it to the top, and those who did were hailed as legends in Maple Grove. For years, Liam had watched the mountain from his bedroom window, wondering what it would feel like to stand at the summit, looking out over the world below. Liam wasn't exactly athletic, and he wasn't known for his physical strength. He wasn't the fastest kid in school or the strongest. In fact, Liam had always been more of a thinker than a doer. He loved reading books about explorers and adventurers, imagining himself in their shoes. But the thought of actually doing something like that, climbing a mountain like Silver Peak, seemed like an impossible goal. His friends teased him about it, saying he was too small, too clumsy, too ordinary. One crisp autumn morning, Liam sat at the kitchen table, staring out the window as the first rays of sunlight touched the peak of Silver Peak. His mother bustled around the kitchen, preparing breakfast, while his father sat reading the newspaper. "Mom, Dad," Liam said, his voice hesitant but firm, "I've decided I'm going to climb Silver Peak." His mother paused, turning to look at him with a soft smile. "That's a big goal, Liam." His father folded his newspaper and looked at him over the top of his glasses. "It is," he agreed. "You know how hard it is to climb that mountain?" Liam nodded. "I know, but I'm ready for the challenge. I'm going to start training, and one day I'll make it to the top." His father chuckled lightly. "You've got determination, I'll give you that. But climbing a mountain isn't just about wanting to do it. It takes months, sometimes years of training. Are you sure you're ready for that?" Liam took a deep breath. "I am. I know it's not going to be easy, but I can't stop thinking about it. I have to at least try." His mother exchanged a glance with his father before sitting down next to Liam. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "If this is something you really want, we'll support you. But you have to promise us one thing." "What's that?" Liam asked. "That you won't give up when it gets hard," his father said, his expression serious. "Because it will get hard. There will be times when you'll want to quit, but if this is your goal, you'll have to push through." Chapter 2. The First Steps. True to his word, Liam began training the very next day. He didn't know where to start, so he went to the library and checked out books on mountaineering, strength training, and endurance. He read about famous climbers and their journeys to the peaks of the world's tallest mountains. He watched videos of people climbing Silver Peak, taking notes on the gear they used, the routes they took, and the challenges they faced. But reading about climbing was one thing, doing it was another. Liam started small each morning. Before school, he would wake up early and run around the neighborhood. At first, he couldn't even make it around the block without stopping to catch his breath. His legs felt like jelly, and his lungs burned. But every day he pushed a little harder, running a little farther, Slowly but surely he began to build up his stamina. He worked on his strength. He did push-ups, sit-ups, and squats in his backyard, using the jungle gym as a makeshift training ground. His arms and legs ached after every session, but he didn't quit. He could feel himself getting stronger little by little. On weekends, Liam would hike the smaller hills around Maple Grove. At first, the inclines felt steep, and he would be out of breath by the time he reached the top. But as the weeks passed, the hills seemed to shrink beneath his feet. He began to carry a backpack filled with weights to simulate the gear he'd have to carry when he climbed Silver Peak. It wasn't long before people in town started to notice Liam's determination. His friends, who had once teased him about his dream, began to respect him. They saw him running through the streets, drenched in sweat, but with a determined look on his face. Some of them even joined him on his weekend hikes, though most couldn't keep up with his pace. But not everyone believed in him. "You really think you can do it?" a boy named Jason said one day at school, leaning against the lockers with a smirk. Jason was the star athlete of the school, tall and muscular, and he didn't think much of Liam's quiet determination. "Silver Peak isn't some hill, you know. It's dangerous up there. People have died trying to reach the top." "I know it's dangerous," Liam replied, his voice calm. "But I've been training. I'm not just going to jump into it." Jason rolled his eyes. "You're still just a kid. You don't have what it takes to climb a mountain like that." Liam clenched his fists, but didn't respond. He knew arguing with Jason wouldn't change anything. Instead, he used the doubt as fuel for his training. Every time he felt like quitting, every time his muscles screamed for him to stop, he thought about Jason's words, and then he pushed himself harder. Chapter 3. The Setback. Months passed, and the day of the climb was drawing closer. Liam had trained relentlessly, his body lean and strong, his mind focused on the goal. He had gathered all the necessary gear: warm clothing, ropes, climbing shoes, and a sturdy backpack filled with supplies. His parents had been hesitant at first, but seeing his commitment, they had come around to the idea. They even helped him plan the route and hired a local guide to accompany him. But just as everything seemed to be falling into place, disaster struck. It was a rainy afternoon, and Liam was out for his usual run when he slipped on a patch of wet grass. His ankle twisted beneath him, and he fell hard to the ground. Pain shot through his leg, and when he tried to stand, he crumpled back down. The doctor's diagnosis was clear: a sprained ankle. Nothing too serious, but it would take weeks to heal. The climb would have to be postponed. All his hard work, all his training, and now this. It felt unfair. He spent the next few days lying on the couch, his ankle wrapped in bandages, feeling sorry for himself. "What if I never get better in time?" he asked his parents one evening. "What if I miss my chance?" His father sat down beside him, his expression thoughtful. "You're facing a setback, Liam. Everyone does at some point. But a setback doesn't mean it's over. It just means you have to work even harder to get back on track." Liam nodded, though he didn't feel convinced. His ankle hurt, and the mountain felt farther away than ever. But as the days passed, and the swelling in his ankle began to go down, something shifted inside Liam. He realized that his father was right. This was just a setback, not the end. If he gave up now, he would never forgive himself. So he started slow. He did exercises to strengthen his ankle, first with light stretches, then with small walks around the house. Each day he pushed a little more, and though the progress was slower than he would have liked, it was progress. After a month, his ankle was strong enough for him to resume his training, and this time Liam was more determined than ever. Chapter 4. The Climb. The morning of the climb arrived with a clear sky and crisp air. Silver Peak stood tall and majestic in the distance, its summit gleaming in the early sunlight. Liam stood at the base of the mountain, his heart racing with excitement and nerves. His guide, a seasoned climber named Ben, adjusted his gear and gave Liam a nod. "You ready for this, kid?" Liam took a deep breath and nodded. "I've been ready for months." The climb began slowly, the lower slopes of the mountain offering a gentle incline. But as they ascended, the path grew steeper, the air thinner, and the terrain more challenging. Liam's legs burned with effort, but he kept going, one step at a time, just as he had trained. Hours passed, and the sun climbed higher in the sky. They stopped occasionally to rest and drink water, but each time Liam felt the pull of the summit urging him onward. He could see it now, the peak rising above the clouds. So close as they neared the final stretch, the wind picked up, howling around them and biting at their exposed skin.